And welcome, everybody. I hope that we can make this as quick as possible. There is a recording happening now, and it will be sent out shortly after this meeting concludes. So if you want to head over to see the Panthers take on St. Mary's Hall in volleyball, please do. Otherwise, I hope you will enjoy what we have for you tonight. I'm going to get started. There we go. Here's our agenda for the evening. Really going to touch on some high-level stuff that's been going on this year, some reminders about changes, particularly with regard to handbooks, and some new stuff happening. Look at a few upcoming events and conclude with a brief Q&A. I'll say it now, and I'll say it when we get to the Q&A slide. As you enter your questions into the chat, and if we don't have time to get to them, we will take the time to email each of you individually who left questions unanswered. I want to just start with some shout outs, if you'll permit me. Dr. Harris, Father Scott, the whole senior leadership team, Nikki Griffin, and Colonel Joel Alexander in our student office. Many of you have had some, you've already gotten to know them quite well, just as through the day-to-days of school, drop ads and attendance. Wanted to thank Major Claiborne, Coach Palomo, and then a few important folks on our CEC. And I'm just gonna name some names here because they do a lot that not everybody sees, that really makes a difference for us and for teachers. I want to thank Kate Vincent and Flora Gatice, the executive co-chairs of the CEC, Stephanie Sanu, Gina Hughes, Mary Ellen Herrera, TJ Erdos, Preeti Doshi, Deborah Sines, Laura Cardona, Jennifer Block, and Sharon Walls. That last two, Sharon and Jennifer, in particular, have just gone out of their way to help teachers, with food and checking in on what they can do. And I know a lot of you have worked through them, so thank you. Zach Mason and Michelle Senecal, Juliet Briskin, Alexis Clanton, Alyssa Moya, and George Zachary. Also wanted to thank Amber Gass and all parents who are helping with our Parent Pal emails. So thanks to all of you on the CEC for helping out. When I think of folks to contact as a parent, in my kids' schools, I always think it's useful to go through this exercise. Our assistant heads of upper school, who you're going to get to see in a second here, are never a bad bet for questions about academics or dress code or whatever it is. They're never a bad bet, and I include myself in that as well. If you want to get a little more specific, though, Pam and Patrick will share what their areas are. Members of our upper school wellness team and student support are listed on your screen now. Lisa Condry is our upper school counselor. Lucy Adams is our academic support specialist. Ben Nelson, is our school chaplain. Nurse Stacy Smith is our school nurse. And Pam and Patrick will introduce themselves in a second. You can reach out to them individually for concerns in their areas, but as a wellness team, we take care of kind of the whole spectrum of child health and well-being here at school. Your students' advisors are always a great point of contact. If you just have a simple question and want to get an answer, they can send that up. And it's a great way to kind of build the culture of connecting with your kid's advisor. So if you have, let's say, if you want us to know that your son or daughter has not been sleeping well and you want to get it on people's radars, your advisor can send it right up to the wellness team. And I would really encourage you to think of them as a first point of contact. And of course, your teachers. I like to tell parents who reach out to me directly about a class. I like to ask parents who reach out to me directly about a class question, have you spoken with your teacher? So always a good kind of rule of thumb to contact teachers directly with questions or concerns about their classes. I want to turn it over to a couple folks I just mentioned to introduce themselves. Both have deep connections to TMI. And I'm going to start by introducing Pam Nelson, who is the Assistant Head of Upper School for Student Programs. Let's see if she is. Oh, Pam dropped out. She lost her connection. I'm going to turn it over to Patrick Brawley to go first.
All right. Good evening, everybody. Patrick Brawley, Assistant Head of Upper School for Student Life. Obviously, I do a lot of different activities with students. I handle student council, clubs, along with Mr. Counts, some minor infractions, dress code, stuff like that. I am an absolute lover of TMI. I graduated from TMI back in 2003. I was a boarding student here, and I'm currently living on campus as a dorm parent. I truly believe in the power of TMI to transform and change lives. It's really important that all the activities that I'm a part of here at TMI are done for a purpose of making and helping the kid become the best version of themselves, and instilling our core values of wisdom, integrity, service, excellence, and reverence. They'll hear me. It's going to be on repeat for most of the year. That's me. If you ever need anything that falls in those realms, please don't hesitate to reach out. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Brawley. And I see Mrs. Nelson is back with us, and I'm going to go back to her slide. Mrs. Nelson. You're muted, Mrs. Nelson. There you go.
All right, there we go. All right, sorry about the technical difficulties there. Glad to see all of y'all tonight. You're going to hear from me in regards to academic monitoring the students' academic progress. And then I also help do the special programs, and we're currently working on homecoming. So there will be a lot of information coming out to you soon in regards to homecoming that is starting very soon. But if you have any questions or concerns, feel free to call or email me, and I'll be glad to talk to you.
Thank you, Pam. Could you make me a host again? I'm sorry, I'm not able to minimize my screen when I made you host to unmute. Sorry for the technical difficulties, folks. Should be able to. Thank you. Just trying to pull up my slides here. Okay. Folks, my computer is freezing up, so I'm going to pull up my phone and pull up my slideshow from here. Again, I apologize for the technical difficulties, but we learn to improvise here in the classroom as well. So I'm pulling up my slides, and I really just wanted to share with you what is new on campus. So I wanted to remind you of our college counseling advisory program. You may have heard me talk about this last spring with Sarah Murphy, leading our college counseling department. Our 11th grade advisors this year are working in conjunction with college counseling. They are helping their students with letters. They are working on getting tasks done at the direction of Sarah Murphy. They will carry on into the senior year, taking instructions from college counseling. It effectively helps our two primary college counselors get more time with parents, and having these advisors help accomplish tasks. In the 9th and 10th grades, Sarah and her team are helping us prepare for the PSATs. They have used the software Methodize, for example, that they've been using for the juniors to, drop down to the 9th and 10th grade. This is PSAT prep software as we get ready for the PSAT coming up in October. We hope that as this program continues down the road, that each year, even if you're outside of the 11th grade and 12th grade, your advisors, who are your normal, every Tuesday academic advisors, are going to be taking a combination of directions from here in Coates as well as from college counseling to prepare them for the big stuff with what's coming up in college counseling. And try my screen again. Nope, still can't do it. Okay, peer tutoring I mentioned in the spring. We will have a peer tutoring program rolling out in Q2. Students will be allowed to apply to become peer tutors and use their free periods and study halls to connect with students who need help. So let's say your son is had a very good algebra and pre-algebra record. He can apply to be a tutor in algebra or algebra 2 or pre-algebra with the recommendation of math teachers. We will connect him with other students who need a little extra support. That doesn't mean that teachers will no longer meet during office hours. It just means that
I'm good.
it just means that we want more support for kids, and an opportunity for some of our students most eager to help out and most eager to share their knowledge, get an opportunity to do that formally. Speaking of service opportunities, we've already had more of them on campus for eligible hours in our X2 Vol system. Students through Mr. Brawley, through Father Ben, through Pam Nelson can serve in lunch lines. They can help serve lunch with our SAGE team. They can volunteer for stuff on campus. Father Ben likes to remind us that our service opportunities can start right here on campus for kids who are looking to get those hours in. We have a number of new student clubs or registered student organizations. Mr. Brawley will have a new list of those posted into on campus shortly. We have divisional Eucharists for the first time. Our monthly Eucharists are being celebrated by division. And of course, this allows for, the homilies might be different. They can be pitched at a different level of age appropriateness. And it allows us to all, be in the chapel seated comfortably. We also have a new feature in the upper school called Panther of the Month. Panther of the Month. We had our first Panther of the Month in August, where we awarded someone chosen by teachers who, quietly was noticed to be living out our core values that Mr. Brawley mentioned. And we will be doing this every month. It's a good opportunity to recognize kids doing the stuff that may not, get a formal recognition in other areas, but is nonetheless worthy of praise. And before we move on, I still cannot minimize this. Okay. I want to talk a little bit about some stuff I wrote in my Parent Pal meeting. My Parent Pal letter about some handbook changes. And I want to start with cell phones. If you had the opportunity to read what I wrote about cell phones, thank you. If you haven't, I'd really ask you to check it out, where I just mentioned some stuff that we've noticed here on campus. We've incrementally tightened our cell phone policy in each of the past 3 years. This year, we've gone a step further, where our expectation in the classrooms is that phones are not only away, but they're off and away. That in classrooms, in study hall, and in the chapel, phones are off and away. Not off, not away, but off and away. And I just want to kind of explain our thinking, and I can do so anecdotally, and I can do so with data. So anecdotally, I'll give an example of something that happened recently. Mr. Brawley, took a phone. He had a phone on him from a student who had it out and been told, and he got it back. It wasn't a big deal. Mr. Brawley mentioned that just when having the phone with him, it probably buzzed 100 times over a period of a single class period. So I'd like for you to imagine what that does to what is increasingly called cognitive endurance if that phone is on the person of our kids. You may know of a famous study that suggests that gaining concentration back after it's distracted when you're on task can take as much as 23 minutes. We've had teachers run a survey in the Walker Innovation Center where it took students, after a notification on a device, 7 to 15 minutes to get back on task. That's just anecdotal stuff, not to mention kids walking with their head down across a busy street, or discipline stuff, social media stuff that's used on campus in a negative way. The research on it is even stronger. So if you haven't already, please take a look at some of the links I put in my letter. There's correlations between heavy phone use and a decline in GPA and concentration. And again, just the degradation of cognitive load. And there is an argument out there that suggests, well, this is just the way things are now, and we have to accommodate our kids. I would say yes, and if we believe in something that's important, if we believe that helping our students prevent this kind of decrease in cognitive endurance is an important task, then I would say, why wouldn't we try to do that? Why wouldn't we try to help them stay on task? So to that end, we're going to continue to review our cell phone policy. And as you saw in my note, that includes a possible change to fully stopping the use of cell phones between the hours of 8:15 and 3:45, which is a match of our middle school policy. Look, the great Texas filmmaker Richard Linklater talked about this recently when he said, phones are changing the way we consume ideas, consume stuff. And again, it is the way things are, but we can also remind our students how to stay on task. So more to come on that, on cell phones. There's been some changes to the uniform, small changes. You can see the handbook that was sent out by Dr. Harris. Nothing major except a simplification of our uniform, including outerwear like sweatshirts and cold weather wear. We've made some changes to absences, including the number of excused absences over consecutive days. We added a note in the handbook about gambling. We noticed a rise in online, particularly gambling. I think that starts innocently, but in some cases does not end innocently. So we have asked that no gambling happen on campus. We're bringing back what's called the disciplinary committee. This is a body of faculty and staff that can be called to hear disciplinary proceedings. I heard from many parents last year about, just me or Dr. Harris or the dean of students being involved in discipline. And I think there's a very good case to be made that the more voices that hear it and go through a formal process, the better for you and for students to understand what the concerns are. I also added a note in our handbook about AI, and our AI policy is very straightforward. Any work that is submitted for credit that is in full or in part created by generative AI without attribution or talking to the teacher will be treated as an Honor Council violation. So you may have teachers who do writing by pen and paper only in class. You may have teachers who, like Mr. Kucharowski or Mr. Valdez, who want to explore, or Mr. Waddington, explore how generative large language model AI works. Both can do that. But if work is done and credit is claimed for work that is created on AI, that's an Honor Council violation. Our task is to help these kids learn how to manage AI ethically, plain and simple, not to bury our heads in the sand and pretend it's not out there. That would be unrealistic, but to navigate it ethically, plain and simple, just like we do everything else. So please take a look at the handbook for those changes. I did have a slide on campus, but folks, my second screen is completely frozen, and I don't want to disrupt this meeting any further to try to show you on campus. So I would ask you to please make sure you have gone to notifications in your on-campus profile. Again, notifications in your on-campus profile. You will see your picture in the upper right, and you will go to settings and notifications. Again, I'm deeply sorry for the technical difficulties. I would walk you through this, and I can include some of these instructions in my follow-up email. We're trying to use on-campus exclusively for academics, for notifications, for praise for students, for concerns for students. So if your notifications are not set accordingly, you might not see them. And again, I truly apologize for my screen trouble, but I will send a follow-up. On-campus notifications under settings should be turned on, and you can enter your cell phone and enter your email if you'd like texts. Speaking of on-campus notifications, you will normally receive an infraction notification each time an infraction is entered. We understand that for some parents, an automatic threshold was being triggered in on-campus, sending a deluge of infractions that never happened. We have fixed this problem, and I apologize for any anxiety that caused. Excuse me. That problem has been fixed. We were trying to have it automatically do, update thresholds, and it doesn't work. So our apologies for those of you who may have received one too many infraction notices when it was really just one for something minor. Some upcoming events. Again, I'll share my slides with you. There's a CEC parent-wide meeting on September 26th, in which Kate and Dr. Tiche and her crew will be talking about some important things to come. Again, that's September 26th. Homecoming kicks off Saturday, September 30th with our upper school homecoming dance, and concludes, well, for students here, Friday night, the 7th, with a football game. That week is homecoming week. A lot of folks on this call have already helped kind of put together behind the scenes some great stuff for homecoming week. Parent-teacher conferences kick off on October 10th. That's a Tuesday, and continue through just before Thanksgiving. And what I mean by that is you will hear from teachers with the opportunity to connect with them for 10 to 15 minutes, either in person or over Zoom, over that period of time. It is optional for you, not optional for our teachers, to make that time available. It is, again, October 10th to that is November 17th. And you will hear from teachers directly about setting up those times. PSATs are October 11th. It's a Wednesday, and quarter 2 starts Thursday, October 12th. PSATs are entirely digital this year. PSATs will be on the computer. We are prepping for that already. So please be mindful of that. A few other odds and ends before we go to questions here. For senior parents, Chapel Talk sign out can happen the day of, and Father Ben will send your senior student instructions about how to sign out for the day in Chapel Talk. That has caused some anxiety in the past. Anybody who needs to miss school for some reason or another should send a prior reminder to Colonel Alexander at attendance@tmi-sa.org. Again, letting him know, at least the day before or the morning of, about a pickup concern or absence is the best protocol when you can. The add drop period has closed, but for students in AP and honors courses, can voluntarily withdraw with parental permission up to the quarter. Students in those classes can also be asked to move, although by this time you should have heard from someone with concerns, if the academic load is too much. So that is the one exception to our add drop, that AP and honors courses may be changed to college prep CP up to the quarter, in quarter 1. National Honor Society, NHS applications. We have our students apply for NHS. It is not an automatic. And I'm asking you parents to be on the lookout for something from Mr. Mentz, our coordinator. He's simply going to say in an email, applications to come in October. And parents, I just need you to, if your student has a 3.7 GPA, meets our service requirement of above the 12 hours a year, and is of a great character and no major disciplinary procedures, then encourage them to apply. We are not going to create our list. It is application. And we like that because the student has to go through and say, what aspects of your character do you think make you stand out? And it's a really nice way for self-reflection. So parents, please be on the lookout for that. The first email will go to you and students. The rest is really to students, to remind them to submit that application. That's NHS. Course registration and recommendations, that process will again happen in the late fall. You will have time to start meeting, talking to your student about what they want to take for the next year around just before the Thanksgiving break. So be on the lookout for that. We will have some exciting new electives next year in innovation and design and our growing business and entrepreneurship program. So be on the lookout for that. I've already mentioned my cell phone policy and our kind of philosophy of cell phones, and that is an ongoing review. One other thing, we are enhancing or hoping to enhance our attendance for visitors and for students with School Pass. Liz Anderson mentioned that in her middle school meeting, but School Pass will allow students and teachers to more easily sign in and out of class and to sign in and out of places where they need to go to see a teacher during a study hall, to leave campus altogether. It gives a lot more flexibility to you, to students, and to teachers. And it will not change our current attendance policies. It will just make them easier. So Dr. Harris should be sending a note about School Pass in a few weeks. Lastly, please do look at Parent Pal emails. I already gave a shout out to Amber Guess and each grade level parent. Thank you so much for those, but that will include information from the Corps of Cadets, a newsletter from me, and important dates. That in combination with news and notes is a really good resource, Folks, I've gotten to my question slide. And again, I really want to apologize for not being able to walk you through the slideshow. I will share that slideshow with you so that if you ever re-listen to this, you can see the point of what I was saying. If you do have questions, I would ask you to use the chat. You should be able to send a chat to Pam Nelson, and we will do a little Q&A. If your question is not answered, we will reply to you via email by saving the chat. So again, please enter your questions in the chat. And Mrs. Nelson, if you have some, I'd love to hear them. And if they're for me or for you or for Mr. Brawley, just let us know.
Okay. Mr. Brawley, do you see any coming through on your end? Because right now I am not.
I do not.
Okay.
Okay, I have a few chat questions. I have a question about the number of volunteer hours to graduate. That is 12 per year in the upper school, 12 per year. So for NHS, we would ask that students go above that 12. And let's say you are a sophomore, right? You have to have been at a TMI for at least a year to apply for NHS. And you're thinking, well, I only have 12 my freshman year, but I really want to go over this year. We can have that conversation. But for all TMI students, it is 12 hours per grade. Some questions about the TMI app. I will have to get some answers for you and get you a better answer than I can give you now with my technical expertise. Someone said that the TMI app on our phones has have issues. I do know that the categories that you can see on your app that don't equal what you can get on the web browser, that you have to go on a next step to get the resources page. But to that parent sending that question, I can send those to you with specific instructions. I have a chat about notifications and setting them up. I can try to help you out with our tech team. Question about the homecoming dance. Is it at school or elsewhere? I am thrilled to say that, as always, it is at school. The homecoming dance is one of our best nights. almost always because the weather always cooperates, and I'm sure it will this year. But we have it right in front of chapel in the amphitheater. It's just TMI. It's low key. It's a lot of fun. There's food and dancing in the amphitheater. It's actually very, very cool. It's mostly student kind of driven, the students and their parents helping with decorations. We have a great theme this year. I'm really excited for that event on September 30th. You will also get a form for dates who are outside of TMI, friends or dates who are not TMI students. There'll be a little extra information to put down just so we can contact them. Another question about PSAT prep software and if students already have access to this. Yes, they do through their advisors. That is called Methodize. That is called Methodize. And I apologize for the technical difficulties and why you can't send a chat to Mrs. Nelson. I apologize. Going through these for general questions that will help everybody. If you're locked out of on campus, you can email me and I will connect you with Knight. And question about teachers and on campus. The expectation is that teachers are using on campus as their central hub, Now, some teachers will have an assignment on Google Classroom, but they should not have an entire life on Google Classroom that is not also available on campus. So if that is a concern, I would ask you to reach out to me so I can talk you through what you're seeing and address that internally. A few other questions were specific to specific children, so I would ask if you permit me that I can email you directly about your students. Again, folks, I'm really sorry for the technical difficulties. We started out with such a bang, but really I just wanted to show you my slideshow so you don't have to just look at all the talking heads. The vibes right now in the upper school are really high. Like it's just a fact. Like we have really good kids, exciting new classes. The upper school and the middle school identities are increasingly their own, even as we continue to support each other. There's a lot going on here that we're proud of, and I wish I could just show it more with the cool slideshow I had courtesy of Laura Cardona. If you have more questions that you'd like answered, please contact one of us directly. I'm so grateful for your time. I'm going to head over to the varsity volleyball game to see our Panthers take on St. Mary's Hall. This has been recorded. For what it's worth, I will send this out with the slideshow as a separate attachment, and I will answer these questions in the chat that I didn't get to. Thanks for your time, everybody. Thanks for your kids and for all you do for TMI. Lots of love. Take care.